In today's video, I'm going to go through the steps that I take to turn a blank sheet of paper into a not so blank sheet of paper. So let's get straight to it. So first, I decide on the image I want to work from and I print it out. I then cut it out, which should make a bit more sense in the coming moments. Next, I draw a grid on the image, which cuts the subject into 64 boxes. Now I put the image on the piece of paper that I'm going to be working from in the place that I want the subject to be. I then put a little dot where the grid lines and the corners are of the image, so it's kind of like transferring from the grid from the image to the piece of paper I'm working on. Doing it this way means that we don't have to remeasure the grid onto our piece of paper, and we also have an exact match of the grid that we have on the image on the piece of paper we're about to work on. I then trace around the outline of the subject to get a much more simple kind of skeleton thing that we can go and transfer from this grid that we have on the image to the piece of paper we're going to be working from. In areas with lots of detail, I like to split the boxes up further, just to ensure that I'm as accurate as possible. Now to transferring the outline on the image to the piece of paper. To do this, I measure where the outline crosses the box on the image and mark it as a point on the piece of paper in the corresponding place. Now I continue doing this until I've marked out all the intersections. Now I appreciate this is a really lengthy process, but it will really help improve the accuracy of your sketch. The reference points then make up a sophisticated dot to dot, which we can use to draw the outline. And once this is done, we can round off some of those edges and kind of add those details to make it more resemblant of the subject we're about to draw. It is now time to do our fancy colouring to inject some life into our subject. As you're probably aware, realistic shading is really complex. So let me attempt to explain the basics. So firstly, you kind of need to know what's going on, so you need to constantly look back and forth at the reference and the piece of paper you're working on. Then with a darkish pencil, just jot down some of the details that pop out at you, and the more details, the better. As you continue doing this, you'll become more confident in certain strokes than you are in others. You can then work on these good parts by saturating the colour. On the topic of colour, you can really see here how I'm using many different browns and greys together to colour match my drawing to the reference image. Your colour choice is also really important and is something that anyone can understand through practice and practice. This familiarises yourself with which colours work with which in order to achieve the overall effect that you want. To get that realistic look, you need to get a smooth blend between all those different colours. To do this, place down all the desired colours and then smush them all together with a lighter colour with the same-ish colour hue. For more information on blending colours, I have a video that should appear on the screen right about now. You can also see how I keep bouncing around to different sections of the drawing. This is to basically give me a break from the part of the drawing I'm working on and avoid drawing burnout. I am then able to go back to these areas with fresh eyes and cover anything that I may have missed. And this wouldn't be a very good instructional video if I didn't mention the importance of contrast. For those of you who don't know, contrast is the difference between the darkest and the lightest areas and is vital in making your drawing pop. In order to achieve high contrast, you shouldn't be afraid to press quite firmly in the darkest areas and also leave some light areas as well. The darkest areas will be pushed further into the page and the lighter ones will be brought forwards. These factors together will give us a 3D effect that we want to achieve. On the larger areas, I really like to put some colour down so I'm not just staring at this white void of nothingness. And then I've got something to build upon with the details and further colour blending. So the pencils I'm using today are Faber-Castell Polychromos, which are an extremely good pencil. However, before Polychromos, I use these from Castle Arts, which are far more affordable and perfectly capable of creating some epic drawings, just like this. So if you want to try out either one of these pencils, I have links down in the description where I receive a small percentage of the profits to help me make more videos just like this. So thank you, and back to the video. Although it may seem obvious, using a sharp pencil to do the fine details is vital. A fine pencil allows us to establish really crisp lines, and especially on this horse drawing, crisp lines are needed to bring the leatherwork away from the head. As we approach the finish line, the temptation is to rush to the end. This is definitely a don't do, as we start to miss out details and we get really sloppy with our blending. This will ruin the realistic illusion that we have worked so hard to achieve. So please, take your time. And just like that, you've gone from a white piece of paper to a pretty cool drawing. So that's it for this video. If you've enjoyed it or found it useful in any way, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. And I'll see you next time with more creative content.